Welcome back to the channel. On today's video we're going to be covering or putting in the front cupboards. With the sidewall to the sink now in place, it gives me an opportunity to be able to fix off that to hold in the top cupboards. I'm going to be making a frame up that will go at the front here, which will screw sideways into this wall panel. The plan will be that the bottom of the cupboard will come out and we'll pocket jig to the back wall here. There's a frame which will go on the front, which will fix onto, which will then hold it all into place. We'll then fix to the ceiling and also fix back to the upright here. For the first section, I've made a bottom panel. I've made 2 of the cross beams and 3 uprights. Each of the uprights will go 1 at each end and then 1 in the middle, which will give us a divider between the 2 different sections. Now I've attached the front frame, it's time to make the bottom part of the frame, which the bottom piece will fix into. So again, I'm going to pocket jig the bottom parts across to the front and then bring the rear piece in at the back here. I've made it so there's a slight lip on the edge here because it's going to sit on the 15mm ply that comes up behind the kitchen area. Now I've made the main part of the frame, I've put this brace in place, just temporary, so that I can hold this part square. The other end's not so bad because that will go on to the shower and therefore it's going to be held square anyway. But this I had to make sure it's actually fully square. I've now cut this panel here, which sits on like so. I've got to cut over here a little bit just to allow for the cables to come down from the lights that are on the roof. I've now got a test fit in place for the front cupboard. I've got a divider in here just to separate off the electrics. Then we've got one little cupboard and then a slightly bigger cupboard. It's going to have 2 separate doors. This will be a fixed panel which the control panel will go on to, which is basically one of these. The bottom's not on yet. What I'll do is once everything's in place and I can hang the doors, I'll then put the bottom on at the end, which will enable me to get to the back of the doors to make sure they're perfectly square before I finish up and seal up the shelf. Now that the framework's in place, I've added 2 panels to the front which I've cut to the correct depth that we require. This one here is for the electric controls to go into, and this one here is the first opener. I've just used a bit of the ceiling trim as a divider so that they're not going to be touching one another, so they will open nicely. I've mounted it like this, and I'm going to take this panel down and enable me to then pin this completely in place so that I can then put the brackets on the back for the hinges, as it were. They need to be set square, so when I open up the cupboard, they open up together. Now attached both sets of hinges. This was achieved by holding the panel up hard against and then locking in so that it sits nice and square. What we've got to do next is pop these out so they sit up top, and then you lay the board on, you push it right back against the surface that you want it to square to, like so. We've had to slightly change our plans, mainly because the hinges that we used just were not strong enough to hold up the big ply doors. We've now got them in place. We switched over to these hinges here. I'll put a link to these in the bottom. They're actually cheaper than the other hinges I've got from Screwfix as well. They've got a double spring mechanism in them, and as you can see they are very good at holding up even a big weight like that, and they hold up very nicely. Next thing to do is to fit the locks that will hold the doors closed. We've now attached these double roller catches. In the middle of each of the cupboards you get a clasp that goes on here and a holder that goes on the back. They feel fairly strong. I guess only time will tell if they actually hold or if we have to do something extra. It's now come to adding the base to the cabinet. What I've made so far, I've marked out where the battens will be sitting. I'm going to be using only 11mm ply on this. The reason being it helps to reduce the weight, and there isn't really a great deal of weight that's going in here, and it will all be fixed up to all of the battens anyway. I'm going to put a line of sealant around here. Again, we're going to use the Marine Flex to do this because it's a supple sort of adhesive which will allow for the vibrations, and then I'm going to put screws downwards into it, therefore leaving the face on the underside nice and clean with no screws through it at all. Just applied a thin bead right the way along the outside of the board. Now to put it into place. It's now clamped into place, allowing for the Marine Flex to go off. I've run a number of screws down through the battens as well, which is also going to help hold the bottom of the cupboard in place and allow me to have a nice clear surface underneath. So there we go, one set of finished top cupboards. All I've got to do now is repeat the process for the other 2 sets of cupboards. Thank you for watching. If you do have any questions or comments, please do leave them below and I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button. Also don't forget the subscribe button and notification bell to hear when the next video goes live. See you in the next video.